Hello everyone and welcome to the KrystalNOW 2026. I actually can't believe I'm saying this. After that much time, I am finally able to make this event. Thank you for joining the show now live on Premiere or after it. In any case, I really appreciate that you are with me right now. Every one of you will get some interesting bonuses, but about them a little later, so stick with me till the very end. If you forgot what this even is, then I'll remind you. KrystalNOW is the main show of the KrystalSpace studio. Here you can find all new updates, plans, features, strategies, projects, and many, many more. I have a lot of things to talk about, so let's not waste any time more and finally begin. Grab something healthy to eat and let's have a look on what I have prepared for you. 2025 was a really efficient year. During chapter 2, I made a lot of different content, like game reviews, soundtracks, reviews of discs, even some adventures, whether it's dedicated to gaming or just something else. Also, it's the year when the first ever KrystalNOW has happened. And one of the most important features of this show was a new strategy, which introduced a chapter season system. Each year is one specific chapter, and it has 4 different seasons, dedicated to specific themes and topics. I really like this system. It works very well for entertaining you and keeping track of how productive last 3 months were. And also, it's kind of a fun thing. I mean, you could make your own top 5 list of your favorite seasons from KrystalSpace Studio, and I think it's very cool. And with the KrystalNOW 2026, I'm introducing a couple of new strategies. And the first strategy you might have already noticed by yourself. While the second chapter was great, personally for me, it was really great. I had a lot of videos which gained a great amount of views. I made a lot of different stuff. I mean, the content was very diverse. At some point I was experimenting and some of the experience went pretty well. But I felt that something was off. And it's not about views. It's not about content I make. After some time, I realized that it was about me. I understood that while I appreciate a lot of other content creators and developers, I don't want to become another guy whose content will be dependent on them. If you look at the second chapter, you can see that a lot of videos are based on some other games, on some other topics. Some of the videos are not even from the KrystalSpace era. They were brought from the previous chapter 0 roots. And it's not that. This feels wrong for me. I want to create something of my own. Create unique, extraordinary things. Show the story no one has ever told and follow the clear blue ocean. Yeah, it is much more harder way to gain your results, but I believe that harder way is the right one. That is why, after finishing some projects, from the second chapter, I moved to the third chapter vision. So basically, KrystalSpace Studio creates only new and unique projects. It is important to understand that this strategy does not limit KSS. It simply shows the main vision or simply strategy. And I'm not going to be a super official, of course. We already had this experience, right? First chapter had strategy of being very official. There was a problem that there was no actual connection with the audience and community. It's a huge disadvantage. But at the same time, the second chapter was also not that thing which I wanted. So third chapter is kind of a something in the middle between first and the second chapter on its strategy. The main point is that we are here for having fun, aren't we? This is the main point. And I want to be official, but also be able enough to also connect with the audience in not official manner. Besides, even though we are going to an independent path, getting back to appreciating who said that this is the only way to do so. But this question you will ask one day later. Now, the second strategy you might really like. But before I tell you this one, we have to talk about some plans. KSS is developing, evolving, I would say. And it's only a matter of time when I will not be alone anymore. In other words, sooner or later, in KrystalSpace Studio, there are going to be other workers that will work on different projects. So I have planned in mind how it will look like. Eventually, KrystalSpace Studio will have a couple of departments. Each one of them will be dedicated to some specific types of projects. And we should define what exactly types of projects do we have. First of all, videos, or simply content. As I told you, in the third chapter vision, we are going into an independent way. And actually, there was supposed to release one video that I've been working on for 2 months. Unfortunately, it couldn't be released before KrystalNOW 2026. But it's good that at some point I can announce you it today. Review of my first ever successful experience with the game jam, and as you may know, my first game with such successful experience was COD Room. And very soon, I suppose in this season, I really hope so, you will see a history of how COD Room was made and general my experience from the game jam. This is a new rubric or genre for this channel, and I'm going to explore and expand a lot more ideas and formats. It's of course an experimental one, so we will see how you will like it or not, but I really hope that you will. In any case, this video is only first look at this vision. Next is music. As you may know, music has a decent part of me, and it is not only for games, but also maybe something different, like soundtracks for even this show, KrystalNOW, because all the music that you hear right now was written specifically for this event. But what if we could make it even more independent? Back in the very beginning, their first ever video in KrystalSpace Studio, or not really video, but a soundtrack, Nature of Adventure. That was a little glance what I actually meant by something independent for music. And I believe that in the future, we will explore even more in which way music can be also some kind of an independent content. Finally, games. And this new strategy is aimed at this specific type. Content seasons are great, but what if we could improve this system? There is a problem. You see, even though games are indeed an important part of the KrystalSpace Studio, when was the latest release? The latest release was in Chapter 2, and I think this is wrong. Horribly wrong. And I believe that this new strategy could fix this problem. The idea is simple. In every season, there is going to be a minor game release, or in other words, a small game. A great example is Squadron and Haphazard. Both of them were made in only 3 days. So imagine what could be done in 3 months. I think even 1 month is fairly enough for one game to be fully made and released, with no other final updates needed. And I think it will be very nice. Besides the minor release, there could be also a major release. A big, important for KrystalSpace game. Example comes to mind really fast. Ghost&Souls is such one. The game will be released every chapter once in a year, so it also could be developed throughout the year. And in the autumn season of the chapter, you could get this game. Major release will be the main focus for the chapter, but also could be something worth to wait. So let's combine all the puzzles and illustrate how it's going to work. Here's our winter season, and at the end of it, kaboom! A minor game release. Then we have spring season, and then again, kaboom! At the end of it, we get another minor release. Then summer season, and guess what? That's right, kaboom! Another minor release. Finally, the autumn season. And this is a time for major release. Starting with season 11, this strategy is applied. Now, I want to say that probably some details of the strategy might change, but idea as well as the strategy stays the same. More games. So far, I mentioned autumn season so many times, but have not actually named it. Let's fix this. 11th season is called Kaboom! 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 And I think you understand that this season is going to be focused mainly on G and C. Of course, it doesn't mean that it's going to be only focused on G and C. There are also going to be other videos and projects that will be dedicated to something else. But still, yeah, the primary focus is going to be on Ghost&Souls. This is the time when I will be actively promoting the game. And a little disclaimer for the future, there might be a lot of spoilers during that time, so better not watch any GNC content until initial release. I warned you. Ghost&Souls is my major release for 2026. I also do have plans to release it on Steam, and I really hope that this is what exactly is going to happen. Ghost&Souls is going to be supported on macOS and Windows, and later on, I believe, also on the mobile devices. Ghost&Souls has been with us throughout the whole lifetime of the KrystalSpace. This was my first ever serious game project that I had in mind to lead till the finish line. And oh god, it was really hard. But look how much we've done. Chapter 1. Chapter 1 final update. Chapter 2. Chapter 3 core. Chapter 3 paradise. And finally, the grand finale, Chapter 3, the final update. Or just simply Ghost and Souls. It's hard to believe how game has changed throughout all this time. Once it was just one level, one block from Unity Asset Store, Ghost and Souls. And now it's a big game with great history, with great story and huge improvements. The final release will include all the chapters and achievement system that part of you have been waiting for so long. Now, I know what you want exactly, date and the trailer, right? So, let's do this.